On this week's Gridiron Report, we have the Pistons now tied with Cleveland at 2 games apiece, and the Detroit Tigers literally could not be more injured. And it's all brought to you by Pins and Aces, our favorite spot for all your golf apparel needs. Use promo code GRIT, G-R-I-T, for 21% off any product at pinsandaces.com. Let's get into it.
The city where the lights grow dim, grit and grind, every inch, every rim, from the underdogs rising to the legends that win. It's the Gridiron Report, let the games begin. Every highlight's a journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retire. Gridiron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thunder and loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report.
Welcome to the Gridiron Report, your Lions First All Detroit Sports podcast presented by Mic Drop Studios. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, and after I would say probably three perfect games from Detroit, going back Game 7 against Orlando, Game 1 and 2 against Cleveland, they now have dropped 2 in a row in Cleveland, will now be coming back to Detroit with the series tied at 2 apiece. Pretty heartening. We have a lot to cover. We mentioned last week, actually 2 weeks, really. It's hard to break these down because we have 2-3 games in between our different episodes. So we have so many different games to cover. We have some good games. We have a few bad games. We have some, a little bit of injury news. We have a little bit of guys playing well, guys playing. So it's difficult for us to break it down. But let's go all the way back because last week, it was mid game 1, I believe, when we were recording. So I think we ended up taking game 1 mid episode. So we were able to cover that a little bit. But after those 3, maybe even 5 good games, because obviously we had won 5 games in a row, the final 3 of them, I think, being damn near perfect. Detroit drops the last 2 in Cleveland. And we said it was going to be a big thing. Like, Cleveland was undefeated at home in this postseason. They were defeated. They hadn't won a game on the road. Was that going to play a factor into Detroit going to play at Cleveland? How were the rookies like Dennis Jenkins going to be able to respond? He would play such a pivotal role in Game 7 and Games 1 and 2. How was he going to respond in Cleveland? And collectively, the team over the last 2 games just took a giant dump in their pants.
Yeah. Games 3 and 4. That was big dumpy, and not in a good way either. Let's start with the positive. Let's start with Game 2 actually, because we did pretty much live breakdown Game 1 as we were recording last week, as you alluded to. So yeah, Game 1 covered. Obviously a great dub. Pistons win 111-101. Really get the series off right. And then Game 2. This is where, like, if you're the Cavs, like, man, you're just trying to steal one on the road. And I thought the Pistons played very, very well in Game 2 as well. Pistons 107, Cavs 97. So again, like, you hold like a very good Cavaliers offense to just 97 points. That says a lot about the Pistons defense, I think. And I thought that the Pistons just played so well top to bottom, man. The biggest thing for me, obviously, huge takeaway, 3-point shooting in Game 2, 50% from the field. Pistons went 14 of 28. They were awesome from behind the arc. Pretty much, everyone was playing really well. This was just another Duncan Robinson game. 17 points. He was awesome in Games 1 and 2. We'll talk about him in Game 4, where he was just running cardio. But for now, Game 2, he was really, really great. 56% from beyond the arc. Tobias Harris, 67% from 3. Cade was 50% from 3. Everyone was awesome, man. Even Dennis Jenkins played really well in Game 2. I just loved what I saw overall. I mean, we still somehow lost the turnover battle. It seems like that's been kind of a thing this whole playoffs. But still, 13 turnovers, through 4 quarters. I would take that all day, every day. I feel like, we've been averaging like 8 turnovers a quarter last couple of games. So yeah, overall, man, like, Game 2, loved what I see. You got it done at home. Like, this Cavs team has struggled on the road. They still haven't won a road playoff game. And you got it done at home. That's exactly what you needed.
In my opinion, Game 1 and Game 2 were pretty much the same sort of thing. Like the defensive physicality way outmatched what the Cavaliers brought to the table. Detroit just looked good. Looking at the quarter by quarter breakdown, we won in Game 2 all but one quarter. In Game 1, we broke it down last week. I think we looked pretty good for almost all those quarters as well. Like it was like you said, 50% from beyond the arc. We held Cleveland to just 22%. Free throw line, we like you mentioned, struggled a little bit. I feel like we struggled all playoffs at the free throw line. 75%, not terrible, but opposed to the 81% from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I will say, after Game 1, obviously Donovan Mitchell came out and he did the I'm not gonna complain, but if I was gonna complain about the refs, this is what I would say. But I'm not gonna say that though. I'm not. So he did the whole thing, talking about that and complained about the free throw disparities, and I'm not one to really subscribe to that. We'll get to what game, the game that it was just played last night. Game was like game 4.
Yeah.
We'll get to that after, in a little bit after a short break. But I mean, I say what you want, like that stuff usually does work coming out, and whether it's actually like the refs have, a hand down from Adam Silver and the NBA, and they're like, hey, keep an eye out for this, or start calling this, or it's just subconsciously. It does make a difference. So you look at the free throw disparity. I don't have the numbers in front of me for game 1. It was a little bit Detroit sided. But in game 2,
Yeah.
Cleveland had 27 free throw opportunities, hit 22%, 22 of them. That's 81%. Detroit with just 20 free throw opportunities and hit 15% of them. So 27 to 22, or excuse me, 27 to 20. Cleveland ended up winning the free throw contest there. But I felt like it was pretty even in that game. I didn't really feel like that was very as much of an issue as Donovan Mitchell made it out to be. But these two games 1 and game 2, were very different in comparatively to how the Pistons had to deal with the Magic, especially towards the second half of the Magic series, in which it was like, okay, like we need 40, go out there and get it, and the rest of the guys will do what they can. This was very much like Cade's numbers went down in a good way. I mean, everyone was kind of contributing. You saw, I don't recall what game Cade had in game 1. I think it was one of his lower outputs. I think it was just like 22 points, 23 points. In this game, Cade just finished the night with just 25 points, 14 shots. So like, he was still getting it done, obviously very efficient and getting it done where he needed to, 42 minutes, but it was just very much more level across the field. You had Cade, like I said, Cade with 25, Tobias 21. We'll talk about him in a minute because he has been fantastic. Duncan Robinson, like you mentioned, 17. Asar Thompson with 10, a few off the bench. Dan Shakins for 14. So like games 1 and game 2, you just didn't see as much of a load carry from Cade as you did games 5, 6, 7 in the Magic series, and I think that was perfect. It was what you wanted, especially coming off a long series. You didn't want Cade to have to carry another series, and then we'll get into the other games here in a second. But it didn't seem to have rested him in any way. The lack of usage that we've needed from him across games 1 and game 2.
Dude, that's exactly what you want to from Cade. Like 25 and 10, just a very efficient, like just commanding the offense, double. 50% from the field, so not trying to force it or anything like that. Just really taking what the Cavs are giving you and being efficient in the process. And then he was 100% from the free throw line too. I think I don't have the free throw numbers up. He might have been like 8 for 8 from the line, whatever he was. Just the definition of efficient, man. Controlling the pace and just getting the ball to the Pistons scorers. Loved what I saw just from top to bottom there. I'm just looking at anything else from game 2. I just overall, I mean, we talked about Tobias Harris, but 1 points on 16 shots, so he's very efficient as well there. 7 rebounds. He was just doing a little bit of everything in game 2. Dennis Jenkins, we'll talk about Dennis Jenkins kind of going quiet in games 3 and 4, but at LCA, maybe he's just a hometown player, but yeah, 14 points for him again. He was awesome in game 1, great in game 2. His plus minus was fantastic in both those games. Really coming off the bench for me and just being that spark. Like, say what you want about the Pistons' depth, it's not fantastic. They lack some perimeter shooters for sure. Certainly that second ball handler can be lacking at times, but like when Dennis Jenkins is on, he's the absolute man, and I love watching him. He's hitting shots, he's going out there getting offensive rebounds. Again, we'll talk about games 3 and 4, but for now, game 2, loved what I saw from Dennis Jenkins. So yeah, the boys just got it done at home.
Yeah, they got off to a hot start again in game 2. Like games 1, I would, like I said, go back to game 7, game 1, and game 2. That Detroit Pistons team, and I grant, obviously, those are the 3 home games, had the home crowd behind us, and I know there was a whole big thing about like the people online saying like, man, the crowd seems really muted and really quiet. Like Detroit fans, like, what are we doing? We're kind of embarrassing our players, and I'm a little bit guilty in that when I went to game. Said the same thing. Like it kind of was empty until game started, and then it did fill out. But I just said it wasn't quite as it wasn't as like rowdy as it was last year. And so like I'm guilty for this a little bit. But a lot of people have come out and said like no. Like I was there for game 7. I was there from game 1, game 2. It was deafeningly loud. The broadcast just obviously has to mute it a little bit because the announcers are courtside, like surrounded by fans. They had to mute it a little bit so you can hear the announcers. So apparently, how no matter how quiet it seemed on TV, the fans were crazy. It was deafeningly loud. And game 7 and 1 and 2, that's a Detroit team that I don't think any, it put them up with the great, like put them up there against, the Thunder, who just swept the Lakers, put them up there against the Spurs, who are struggling with the Timberwolves at the moment. But like that team for those 3 games, I think could beat anyone, because we were playing by our rules. We had fantastic defense. We held the Cavs to 22% from the perimeter. We held James Harden to just 10 points in game 2. Like, we controlled the pace. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell had 31. Allen had 22, and so he, 2 guys one had a really great game, one had a decent game, but like everyone else, we controlled it defensively, and then offensively, we didn't rush anything. We already pointed out Cade not having to put the team on his back, just being really efficient, getting everyone involved. That team can beat anyone. Now, we said, in game 1 that then going to Cleveland was going to be a big test, because you a lot of times they do say that defense travels, but controlling a team and like basically putting a team, in a cage like that is much easier to do at home, especially, like I said, to open the show, with guys like Dennis Jenkins, who was he's essentially a rookie. He was playing his perfect role. You pointed out he was playing his perfect role that Detroit needs him to do. And that's, for a rookie, it's not guaranteed when you're going to a hostile environment. Like, it's a lot easier to play that role. In order for Detroit to hit their stride and to reach their ceiling, they need him to play that role. So going to Cleveland, we said it was going to be a challenge. So that team from game 7, 1, and 2, that's a team that can win it all. Like, they controlled the game. They controlled offensively. It wasn't great. It wasn't pretty. We scored 107 in game 2. I don't have their final score from game 1 in front of me. It was something around 100 as well. So like, it wasn't an offensive outburst, but like, you controlled the game, and that's a team that can win it all and beat anyone. That's a team I'm confident in that.
And then fast forward, I think it's a pretty good transition to game 3, where the team that played in game 3 and 4, like, that's not even like a play-in caliber team. Like, that is that's a lottery pick team. And in the worst way possible. Game 3, Cavs 116, Pistons 109. I will give the Pistons credit in game 3. They fought back. They did have the heart that we absolutely did not see in game 4 at all. But game 3, just a horrendous second quarter where, the Cavs explode for 32. They scored 32 in the first and the second. So I mean, they're out there, they're hitting shots. You knew that, James Harden was gonna bounce back from his horrendous performance in game 2. He was obviously gonna bounce back, especially at home. Just seems like he's more of a home player. So you knew he was gonna get his, and he was fantastic in game 3. But the Cavs just completely jump on the Pistons right from the jump. 4 points in the first half. But for me, what really gets it is, Pistons are having these quarters where, like, they struggle for an entire quarter, and they get outscored by 12, 14, 16 points. Like, you get outscored by 14 points in a quarter, it is really fucking hard to come back and win any game. Like, I would love to see the stats behind it, in the NBA. Like, you get trounced by that much in one single quarter, you're probably going to lose the game. So I love that the Pistons battled back in the third quarter, put up a 33 spot, played some really good defense, held Cleveland to 19 points, and I believe the Pistons even took the lead at some point in like the third quarter or early in the fourth. It was a very close game, but it was a game where, like, the Cavs just played so much better. Like, even on paper, you look at it, and the Cavs shot 58% from the field to the Pistons only shooting 40. Turnover battle was very similar, 16 to the Pistons, 15 to the Cavs. So that was similar, and I think that the reason why the Pistons were even in the game, 17 offensive rebounds. Like, they were getting rebounds at will. We just couldn't score. Like, 36% from 3. You look at that number, 36%. It's not like the worst thing in the world, but it's also the volume. Like, 9 of 25. Like, it's just not going to get the job done. So I think just across the board, Cavs were better. They absolutely deserved to win Game 3.
Yeah, they did, and I mean, I agree with you. We got punched in the mouth immediately. I mean, like, the moment we touched down in Cleveland, we got socked in the face. And I mean, just going back to what I just mentioned, you look at Dennis Jenkins, we need him to be that secondary creator with the second unit, or in game 7, 1, and 2, he was actually playing alongside Cade a lot and being that second creator. And I mentioned, for rookies, it's a lot harder to go away and still perform in that role. You look at Dennis Jenkins, 18 minutes, just 2 points. I don't really necessarily subscribe to the plus minus because there's a lot of different things that go into reasonings as teams go on, who you're on the court with, time of the game, garbage time, there's a lot of different things. But I mean, it says something when Daniel Shangus was a minus 28. And so like clearly he was on the court when they in that second quarter when we put up 18 and they put up 32 for majority of it. So like that was a huge reasoning behind it. And I mean, I think that's a great point that like as terrible as this game was, we were absolutely in this towards the end of the game. And what frustrates me the most in this one, and it's very different. Well, I guess it's kind of the same, but it's different than game four. That what frustrates me for game four. This one, we had the opportunity to do this, to come back and complete this comeback. And it was Cade Cunningham specifically who, in my opinion, and this might be harsh on him, but like I hold Cade to a much higher standard than anyone else on the court. Like both teams, Cade is the best player on the court. So I hold him to an abnormally high standard. Cade Cunningham lost us this game in the final 5 minutes. He had there's three bad turnovers and 4 bad plays. He had a bad defensive give up. Where he just lost. He got caught ball watching, gave up an easy bucket, and then he had 3 turnovers, 2 of which were inbounding the ball turnovers. One, he literally was under our basket, threw the ball in, hit the back of the basket, and I get like they were pressing defense. Somebody should have came to help him and tried to get the outlet ball. But as a superstar that he is, you absolutely cannot make that play. That's a high school, a middle school mistake that you cannot have happen in the final 5 minutes. And then to make matters worse, 2 or 4 minutes later, there's like a minute and a half left. We got the ball on the sideline. Same thing. Like I think the score was tied or we were up or something. I want to say we were up by 2. And then I want to say it was Max Strus who just hit a 3 or something, and then so they had a little momentum. We had the ball on the sideline or on the court side, and Cade Cunningham the same exact thing. Just tried to lazily throw the ball in. Max stole the ball inbounding, didn't even get to the guy, just stole it immediately on the inbound, drove down and had a monstrous dunk. That was a 5-point swing, got the crowd involved, and we never came back. We never recovered from that. That, in my opinion, again, it might not be fair to put all that on one player, but that's your superstar, and those are 2 out of the 5 huge mistakes that he made in crunch time that cannot happen. A game that you scratched and clawed and tried your best to get back into successfully, and he makes those mistakes. So again, it might not be fair to say that he lost us this game. Probably as a team, don't let an opponent outscore you 32-18 in a single quarter. But we were right back in there. And in my opinion, he lost us this game in the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, dude, as much as I want to just blatantly disagree with you, I don't think I can. What I will say is I want to just add a little bit of context that, yeah, Cade still had 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. And
sure.
He is obviously a big reason why the Pistons are even clawing their way back into a game like that. Now, what I will say is, was he efficient from the field? No, absolutely not. I mean, he shot 37% from the field, 33% from 3. So it was not a good game for him. But when you you have a triple double and then you have almost a quadruple double, but one of those stats is turnovers, like it's not a game. I think Cade would be the first to put his hand up and say, yeah, that was not my best game. And in crunch time, I was absolutely ass. Like, yes, he was ass in crunch time. But both those things can be true. Like, he still is the reason why you're in the game. 10 assists, 10 boards. He's doing a little bit of everything. But down the stretch, yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that Max Strus play where he snatched it right out of the air. Like, it wasn't even like a tip and then Strus gets it. Like, he just caught the damn ball, which is credit to Strus. It was an outstanding play.
It was just lazy.
Yeah, but it was a lazy pass for sure. The baseline one too. Yeah, that was just everything. I'm like, oh my God, Cade, like this is still such a winnable game, even though the Pistons are playing their like B- game at best, I think, and they still like had a chance to go up 3. Like, that's exactly what you need. Steal one on the road and, take care of business in game 5. And now you're staring down the bullet of down 2-2, and we'll talk about the ramifications of a game 5 when the series is tied at 2-2. But this is the game. Game 3 was the game where, yes, you still had it right in your fingertips and quite literally slipped right out from the hands of Cade Cunningham. So yeah, it was tough across the board. I would want to give the Cavs their flowers a little bit. I think I already did. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell, man, he's been awesome. Game 2, he was great. Game 3, he just got a little bit better. 35 points, 10 boards, shooting 54% from the field. So he's been he's obviously been the X factor. I think the biggest thing though for the Cavs, the leap that they took from games 2 to 3, the supporting cast finally got their heads out of their assholes. Like James Harden was great, 19 points. Jared Allen, 18 points. Even Evan Mobley, just doing a little bit of everything, like 13 points, 8 boards. He had 4 assists. I think he had a handful of blocks and steals. He was really fantastic. So the thing for me, like you can let Donovan Mitchell go nuclear for 35, for even for 40, but like you can't let the supporting cast each get there like between 15 and 25. Like it's just, you're not going to win the game like that. So sloppy all around. Still a game that the Pistons could and probably should have stole. So yeah, I'm certainly salty there.
The other thing I'll note, and this will lead us into, as of recording last night's game, game 4, you saw a lack of minutes and a lack of any impact from both Isaiah Stewart and Asar Thompson. And I think they're two separate instances and two separate scenarios and situations that are occurring, but both are playing out terribly for the Pistons, tremendously for the Cavaliers. So you had Asar in game 3. You had Asar who finished the night with 29 minutes. So he got his minutes with just 9 points, still 7 rebounds. It's still not as dominant defensively as he had been in games 1 and game 2. I put this a little bit more on JB Bickerstaff. We had a really great game plan in which like Harden was getting absolutely nothing the first 2 games, and you just, like you said, we're kind of letting Donovan Mitchell get what he wants, and then Asar is just being a rover, taking Harden out of it, taking the supporting cast out of it. Game 3 back in Cleveland, JB kind of switched up his coaching strategy a little bit, and I don't really understand why. It's been obviously an ongoing discourse on Twitter, and to be quite fair, it's been an ongoing discourse for the Cavaliers fans, because when JB was with the Cavaliers 2 years ago, he kind of did the same thing with them, and that's why he was always considered someone that couldn't take them to where they needed to get to. So that was something Asar Thompson kind of, again, had his minutes but wasn't really successful and didn't really impact it as much as he did. For Isaiah Stewart in that game 3, Isaiah Stewart just 9 minutes, 4 points, 0 blocks. He hasn't had a single block, and I know for a fact this entire series, he hasn't had a single block. A guy who had 8 blocks in one game, he basically hasn't had anything since then. And so for game 3, he was an absolute non-factor. Like 9 minutes, you had Paul Reed who played more minutes and was much more effective than even, I would say, Jalen Duren as well. But Isaiah Stewart, something is going on with Isaiah Stewart. And obviously for game 3. In game 4 for Isaiah and Asar, game 4, last night, Asar had 19 minutes, just 4 points. So his minutes went down. He was getting beat a lot. I saw at one point JV Bickerstaff was yelling at him, but just basically ball watching, and Donovan Mitchell getting an easy floater. I saw Cade Cunningham yelling at him on the court for basically just ball watching and not paying attention. So he ended up getting pulled, only played 19 minutes, 4 points, 4 rebounds. Probably his worst performance I've seen easily of all playoffs I've seen in a long time. And Isaiah Stewart, again, just 7 minutes in game 4, 4 points. Something is going on. Asar Thompson needs to get his head out of his ass and be the absolute dominant force. He's just disengaged in the sense that, like, giving up turnovers, figuring out he can't actually dribble, as I just went out on a limb for weeks and weeks talking about how he can dribble, just playing terribly. But something's going on with Isaiah Stewart. Like, he came out last week and said, I'm 100% healthy. I just had to play better. I'm not going to speculate on injuries or say what's going on, but like, he hasn't had a block in like 6 games, and that's very unlikely. You can see when someone's going to yam on him, he is never afraid to get up there. Like, he'll get postered. He does not care, because 60, 65, 70% of the time, he's going to come away with a sick block. And yeah, someone's going to get a big poster on him every now and again. He's not even contesting. He's not even going up and meeting the ball, at the apex. He is just kind of letting it happen. Something's going on with him. And I think we're going to be in big trouble if those two guys are non-existent moving forward. Jalen Duren obviously is non-existent this entire series. Like, Paul Reed has been our number 1 center, which is terrible for us. So that's a good transition into game 4. But I mean, you got to figure something out with those guys.
Yeah, it's a great transition. Just one more thing. I completely agree. Isaiah Stewart's minutes, Jalen Duren just not being able to be an interior defensive presence. Yeah, it's a huge problem. In game 3, the Cavs shot 84% at the rim, 21 of 25. Like, that's almost impossible. Terrible. Like to not miss some bunnies or like have some block shots, whatever. The Cavs just absolutely exploited the Pistons' just lack of any kind of defensive interior presence. And like, that is absolutely not what the Pistons' MO is. Like, we are, pack the paint. We're going to, literally shit on you in the paint. And yeah, turns out we're getting shit on. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know if Stu is hurt. Like the minutes, like you said, are pretty weird right now. But yeah, we got bullied in the paint in game 3. But transitioning over to game 4, Cavs 112, Pistons 103. Woof. Oh my God, this game, like I turned this game off in the third quarter when the Cavs like quite literally scored the first 20 points in the third quarter. I turned the game off. I'm like, this team they don't deserve my time, my eyes watching this game. Like I could not do it, man. It's crazy because the Pistons were leading at halftime. Like I think they led pretty much wire to wire. Like maybe the Cavs might have scored, I don't know, the first couple points, but in the first half, the Pistons were damn near wire to wire. First quarter, pretty gritty, 24-21. Pistons were up. Second quarter, obviously, both teams were scoring. Pistons still outscored the Cavs in the second quarter as well, 32-31. Yeah, I thought both teams were a little sloppy, but it wasn't any like indication of like just a horrendous third quarter, and then it happens, man, and just getting outscored 38-21. And the game's over, and the game was definitely over for me because I turned it off. I put on Waterworld, which is just a crazy movie to put on after getting just slapped by the Cavs. But yeah, Waterworld was better for me than watching the Pistons in yesterday's game, man. It was bad, and like you look at the stats, like you're like, oh my God, like you look at the box score, Pistons outshot the Cavs 51% to 43%. Like even the 3-point line, Pistons 43% from 3, Cavs 34%, albeit the Cavs shot more, so they made 4 more threes than the Pistons did. But you're like, holy shit, like where did it all go wrong? And then we look at that free throw disparity. Like I know you brought up that you weren't really subscribing to the fact that the free throw disparity has been as bad as it's been, but in game 4 it was horrendous. And JB, he had some comments to make after the game. Cavs shoot 34 free throws, the Pistons just 12. I know some of it is like the Cavs are actually, pushing the envelope, getting to the line, getting into the paint. It seemed like the Pistons, sometimes were playing a little bit more soft. And then you look at it and you're like, well, there's also a lot of plays where you're like, holy shit, like there's a lot of contact there. And one team does seem to be getting more calls than the other team. So I'm never going to be the guy to just scream like, oh my God, ref show, because I think the Pistons played very fucking soft, and I hated the way they played. But you do look at the free throw disparity, and you're like, well, I mean, this game was tighter than it may seem at times, and yet one team has shot 4 times as many free throws, or 3 times as many free throws. So, yeah, I don't know, man. All in all, though, just ugly game 4.
So a few things. One, that says a lot. Turning off the game to watch Waterworld, because I'm pretty sure that holds the record for like the largest cinema like loss in history. I believe they lost the most money on that movie than any other movie ever created.
Hey, they had to fill the entire planet with water. All right, you know how much budget that takes. Like, yeah,
I'm just saying,
it was a masterpiece.
That shows how bad our game was. But so a lot about that. Just like going back to what we said, the game was a game 3 in which both things can be true, and that like Cade had a really good, not efficient, but a good game and with a triple-double, yet he, in my opinion, and it sounds like you were kind of on the same boat, he also partially, very much so, was the reason we lost the game with his lazy antics. Like, both things can be true. I agree wholeheartedly that the free throw disparity was stark. It did affect the game, but also that wasn't the only thing. The only thing, so the Cleveland Cavaliers went the entire first quarter without fouling the Pistons whatsoever. That's pretty much, that does not happen. It might happen like once a year in the NBA. It very much does not happen, let alone in the playoffs, in which there's a little more physicality, but that is very eye-opening. A few other notes. Yeah. So the Pistons shot 60. They had 60 attempts inside the arcs and got 12 free throws. The Cavaliers had 37 attempts inside the arcs and had 34 free throws. So 60 attempts that led to 12 free throws versus 37 attempts led to 34 free throws. Donovan Mitchell himself had more free throws than the entire Pistons team. So, and I agree with you. I'm usually not the one that, like, I mean, both ways. I'm not usually the one that's like, oh yeah, we would have won this game if it wasn't for the refs. And I also agree that, like, yeah, there was so many other things going on. But watching that game last night, like, it was crazy. There was many times that Cade, specifically to end the second quarter, and the first half, Cade was trying to get the ball down the court and just got fouled. And Donovan Mitchell kind of just stood there and like walked off. Like, it was very much lopsided, and obviously the numbers show that. And I don't know we're usually a pretty mentally tough team. I don't know if that had, if that kind of took the team and Cade Cunningham out of the game, if it kind of just got in their head and they were kind of just moving on to the next game. I don't know. Either way, this team, this was the most frustrating. Like, it was very frustrating to see Cade do his lazy shit in game 3. Watching this team go give up to start the third quarter, I think it ended up being like a 22-0 run. It was the largest unanswered run in Cleveland Cavaliers postseason history that we had given up. To see them do that, and then to see Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, everyone, all of our stars, obviously Isaiah's not starting, but all of our stars, and starters outside of Tobias Harris, and I think Duncan Robinson was on the court too. All those guys basically put us in that hole and then just go sit on the bench. And then we saw guys like Paul Reed and Karis LeVert scratching and clawing our way back into this game. That was the most embarrassing gut punching thing I've seen from a Detroit team in a long time. Our absolute superstars put us in this hole and then just sat on the bench, like, and just kind of just stood there, no emotion, just sat there, while our secondary, third, fourth string guys are out there giving it their sweat, tears, and blood and tears, and getting us back in this game. And then kind of we go back to these guys and they kind of shit the bed again. Like, that was such a gut punch. It was heartless. It was cowardly. It was cowardice. It was terrible. Jalen Duren, 27 minutes, just 8 points, 2 rebounds. I'm pretty sure, I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me. He has, I believe, 6 rebounds in this entire series. That is embarrassing. Like, I was the biggest Jalen Duren fan before the season started. This entire season, I was the biggest Jalen Duren guy. That is embarrassing. This team, they should have to walk home from Cleveland after this game. And guys like Karis LeVert, B-Ball Paul, shout out to them who just are like, fine, if you guys aren't going to fucking do it, we'll do it ourselves. And they almost did it for a little bit. And then the last thing I'll say, because I know we're running long, we got to talk about the Tigers here. Marcus Sasser put the fear of God in the cat. I know you turned the game off. Marcus Sasser came in, saw his first postseason minutes in garbage time, like 2 minutes left. He came in and it was like 16. We were down by like 16. Marcus Sasser came in and did some work real quick. He hit one for 2 from 3 points, had a quick 7 minutes and just 7 points in just 3 minutes, and got the game to like a 7-point game, in which, like, I had turned it off by that point, but I was like still monitoring on my phone, and I was like, oh shit, I got to turn this game back on. Like, for a split second, Marcus Sasser, I think, gave the Cavs a little bit of a scare, but then obviously they couldn't pull it out. So yeah, Dennis Jenkins, another absolute stinker. 21 minutes, just 2 points. Obviously the lights were too bright in an away game for him. It was this one, I was thoroughly ashamed and embarrassed of our all-stars. And I think Cade Cunningham, I don't know what you do. It was embarrassing what they went out and did. I can't get that point across any further.
Yeah, it's just one where you gotta reset and put it behind you. But yeah, what a waste of a Karis LeVert legacy game, man. Like, first half, Karis, he was the only guy who wanted to be out there. And that was when the game was still very much within reach. Like, the Pistons were winning for much of the first half, like I said. And Karis is really the only guy who was like both ends of the court too. Like, yes, his defense was so tenacious, like getting rebounds, steals. He was awesome, man. Just putting a body to Donovan Mitchell. Like, I thought that, Donovan Mitchell, like, he struggled a lot in the first half. And I think that was a lot because 4 points. A lot of it was Karis LeVert was just all over him. 63% from the field, 50% from 3. Like, I just, everything I saw from Karis LeVert, I'm like, I don't know why this is the only guy who seems like he wants to try right now or wants to be there right now, but I'm all for it, man. Love what I saw from Karis. Yeah, the rest of the team, though, oh my God, man! Like, I think this was Sar Thompson's like worst game as a Piston. Like, it was horrendous. He couldn't dribble. He's clearly in his head this game, and I'm hoping that it's just a game to game thing, and he can really reset and come back to Detroit better than ever. But yeah, he clearly just I think a lot of it was mental, but just the mental lapses on defense. We talked about his dribbling. I don't want to say too much about that, but definitely a few turnovers there. Another guy who, like, I feel like we've been bashing a lot of the Pistons in Game 4, and rightfully so. But a guy who I don't think we've really mentioned yet, but he was just running cardio out there, man. He must have just been running just a half marathon. But that's Duncan Robinson. Like, I think he was 1 for 2. Like, I don't know what he was doing out there. Like, he played majority of the game, just didn't shoot at all. So again, like, I don't want to dog him too much. Like maybe he was trying to get other guys open, pass the ball, but like your main job, if you're Duncan Robinson, it's definitely to shoot the three. Like you want him shooting probably 5 or 6 threes a game, and to just have 2 shots. Like I don't know, man. I thought that was a huge head scratcher. So just top to bottom, Cade's plus minus 23. Like he was horrendous. Or Thompson minus 27. Just really, really bad. The Cavs are incredible. We talked about Donovan Mitchell just going nuclear, 43 points. Most of it in the second half. Most of it in that third quarter, where you're like, yeah, this guy can't miss, and we don't want to be there, and that's just a recipe for disaster. One more guy for the Cavs that I thought was just so fantastic, man. Evan Mobley, just doing a little bit of everything. 17 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals, 5 blocks. Like everything that you want the Pistons to be, and everything the Pistons weren't in game 4, Evan Mobley was. Like he was incredible. Plus 30. This was his plus minus. I just thought his rim protection, we had 0 answers, and we were just getting daddied left and right. We obviously couldn't hit shots, but like especially interior, like it was really sad. Something's got to give, and it certainly wasn't just that free throw discrepancy. Like the entire team didn't want to be there. So something's got to give, and something's got to give quickly.
I was embarrassed to be a Detroiter while watching this game, and that says a lot. And I hope the players. Obviously they don't listen, but I know there are a lot of them are on Twitter. Like they know the discourse. Like I hope they feel that and want to right that ship. The one guy I'll say, Tobias Harris, another great game for him. He didn't have a single back-to-back 20-point performance all season. Not one single time did he go 20 points at back-to-back games. He has now had 8 straight 20-point games in the playoffs. Like I don't know if we've seen like I turned the switch on in the playoffs more so than him. So he's just turning back the clock. He's still, last night everyone looked terrible except for him, 16 points, doing everything you need from a number 2 that we didn't think he could be the number 2. So like I said, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of shame. Coming back to Detroit now, we got to get going into the, where we go from here, because we still have to talk about the Tigers. But before we do that, you have a word from our sponsors?
Let's do it. Yeah. This Pistons segment is brought to you by Good Feels Cannabis Seltzers, our great friends at Good Feels Cannabis Seltzer. The Cannabis Seltzer from Good Feels offers a new era of refreshment. Fellas, the NBA playoffs is in full swing. Games, literally every night. Sometimes you just can't afford that weekday hangover when you're in the office. Well, for that, Good Feels has you covered. Crafted with high-quality, natural ingredients, these beverages provide a consistent, enjoyable, uplifting experience perfect for any occasion. And the best part is our listeners can enjoy an exclusive discount with promo code GRIT. That's promo code GRIT, G-R-I-T, for 20% off any product at shop.getgoodfeels.com. Yeah, preview segment. I think I alluded to this a little bit, but it's no secret at all. The winner of Game 5 in an NBA series tied 2-2. It is everything, man. I think statistically, if you win Game 5 in a tied series, you win the series about 80% of the time. And so, yeah, this is to say that this is pivotal is just a drastic understatement. Like, this is an absolute must win. You have to take care of business, especially as the team with home field advantage, coming back to your home court for Game 5. If you drop this, you're probably losing in 6. Like, there's almost no way you regain that kind of momentum, especially, when Cleveland has absolutely stolen every sense of momentum with games 3 and 4 winning in Cleveland. So, like, this is a must win. Luckily, this is a game where I think I do like the Pistons in this game. I think, Vegas probably gives them about a 61% chance, 60% chance to win this game. I think we're about 3.5 or 4.5 point favorites. So, yeah, it's definitely a bounce back game, but can't stress this enough. Like, absolute must win. Game 5 tonight, as you're listening to this. If you're listening on Wednesday, you got to get it done.
The winner, I agree. The winner of tonight's, whenever you're listening to this Wednesday night, will win this series. ESPN has a 70%. You are correct. It is Detroit minus 3.5. Yes, and it's gonna be interesting to see how this team. Like, I am confident in our ability at home, but because the last game in Cleveland was so bad and the effort was so horrendous, I have to imagine that plane ride back. It either went one or two ways. Either was a very quiet, somber plane ride in which they were embarrassed and tail between their legs, or it was a very fiery, like, hey, that fucking sucked. That was terrible. We cannot let that happen. And it was kind of like it depends on how that plane ride back was. will show how they respond. Because again, I'm confident in our ability at home, but we cannot have any carryover from those two games. You have to, as embarrassing as that was, you have to literally shake it off and let it go. And I think for guys, it'll be interesting to see how Dennis Jenkins does that. Again, had two great games at home, two terrible games away. Got to get back to that home Dennis Jenkins. Cade, you just got to be more locked in. I think he just has to be more careful with the ball. He was really great for a few games in a row. They're being really careful. We already went over the lapse of judgment he had in Cleveland. So like, I think he just gets back to that very careful with the ball. I think he's comfortable there. Jalen Duren, I don't know what you need to do with Jalen Duren. The only thing that maybe he has going for him is that like if someone's in a slump, and I don't even know if it's a slump, I don't know what's going on with him. The Monstars zapped his powers and his talent. I don't know what's going on with him. I would say that like, though, if it was like Duncan Robinson or, like a shooter, a Steph Curry or someone that is just like a shell of themselves and their shooting is off, they got the yips when they're shooting, that could be a lot really mental. And then suddenly your form is a little bit off, and then you really can take some time and you need to figure out how to get back on track. Jalen Duren, like there's a very good chance that like, he's one of the most dominant, powerful players in the NBA. He literally could just like, he's in a unique opportunity, unique situation where like he can take all this embarrassment and this anger and this terrible play that he's had to get mad about it and just use that anger to help him play better. He's already physically, dominant on the court. Use that anger, like go up and sky for rebounds, put back thunderous dunks, like just body people, put them like, you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like shooters have to be a little more technical. If they're in a slump like that, they got to be more technical and figure out, okay, what's going wrong? Where's my release coming? Like what's going on? Jalen can just like take his anger and push people around him and just like get mad on the court, and his play will be better, I think, and not have absolute bricks for hands. That's going to be something big too. So he's got to take all the, I know he's just 22 years old, but he's a human at the end of the day. He knows he's been playing terribly. He knows the discourse about him online. He knows he's up for a contract here very, very soon. He has to know that like, this is pretty embarrassing. He's just got to bundle all that up and just take it out angrily out on the court and push people around and take it to him. Be physical, be smart, but be physical. Like he's got to be able to do that. That's going to go huge, such a long way in Game 5 here.
I think you said it perfectly, man. But like we forget just how young Jalen Duren is, and like in a contract year where like he's played so well, like this is the time where like all eyes are on you, and like the 23-year-old kid, like the pressure's still going to get to you, regardless of if you're a professional athlete or not. Like, yeah, you're still a young kid at the end of the day. And he knows he's playing for that contract. So yeah, I get it. I know that pressure is immense, but it seems like he's trying to force the envelope, and the dribbling has been bad. Like he's been, like you said, bricks for hands. That's been tough, but yeah, I totally agree with you. Just get back to your smash mouth, playing style. And it's tough too, because he has been in foul trouble in part because of that play style. So say what you want again about the refs. I think they're probably not doing him very many favors as well for the bit of foul trouble that he has found himself in these playoffs. But yeah, regardless, man, you need more out of Jalen Duren. He's a big reason why you're even in this spot right now in the second round of the playoffs, 1 seed. You need your guy who was just a walking 20-point and 10 rebound guy to step up and be that guy, because we certainly haven't seen it. Asar Thompson, he's got to step up in a big time too. I don't want to belabor the point. We already talked about the kid quite a bit, but you need him to step up on defense and really just take care of the ball on offense. We're not expecting him to drop 20 points in any game, but yeah, if you take away the opposing team's best weapon, you add another 10 points, a couple blocks and steals, like that's more than enough. So need Asar to be himself. Biggest thing for me, the entire team needs to take care of the ball. I think, really, the Pistons have been just hemorrhaging turnovers, like just a little bit more every single game. The games that we won, I think Game 2, 13 turnovers, then Game 3, 16 turnovers, 20 turnovers in Game 4. So it seems like it's escalating. It's like we need to get off this turnover train. Same thing that happened in the Magic series. I don't know, it seems like it's Groundhog Day. It's repeating itself. But then Donovan Mitchell, like he's going to get his, but like he just can't continue to go nuclear. Like basically his trajectory right now, he's going to drop 50 points in Detroit, and that absolutely cannot happen. Like if he scores 30, I think that's not the end of the world, but a 45 point game and a 30 point game are immensely different. So yeah, you got to stop him from going nuclear if you can. And I think Asar Thompson, it's a big task. You got to step up after a bad game. I think Asar absolutely can do it though. he is tremendous. He's got to get his head out of his ass, and I think he will.
So series tied, obviously 2-2. Right now, just breaking down all the categories, Detroit versus Cleveland. Points, Detroit is fourth, 430, Cleveland 426. Rebounds, Detroit 162, Cleveland 143. Assists, Detroit 90, Cleveland 88. Steals, Detroit 43, Cleveland 28. Block, Detroit 15, Cleveland 26. Turnovers, Detroit 61, Cleveland 61. Fouls, Detroit 92, Cleveland 73, and then free throws, Detroit 69 for 89, and Cleveland 85 for 105. Just some interesting stats there to see how even this series is, being 2-2. The last thing before we do go to a quick break and come back with some quick Detroit Tigers stuff, the series will be over by the next week's episode. Call your shot right now. What's going to happen?
I see this going 7, man. I'm going Pistons in 7. I really think this is going to be a home team prevails for this entire series. Like, I see the Pistons getting it done today as you're listening. And then I think really close game back in Cleveland, and Cleveland somehow claws their way, they're against the wall, and they find a way to win there. Yeah, I think the Pistons get it done in 7, but it's going to be back and forth, and I'm going to be glued to my TV. I can guarantee I'm not going to be turning off another Pistons game for Waterworld. I mean, I got my Waterworld fix in. Don't need it again for another couple of years. So I'm all Stones now.
You might be. I'm that's just so surprised. You might be the only one still watching Waterworld, but I'm with you. Pistons in 7.
Talk to Pete Marino. It's his favorite. It's his favorite movie.
Sorry.
Well,
Pete,
maybe not his favorite, but he watches it a lot.
I didn't mean to disparage Waterworld. It's a fantastic film. Okay, let's go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to touch real quick on the Tigers and their injury woes, and then wrap up the show with some grit of the week. All right, we are back. We have done nothing but basketball for the past month plus, I would say, just because we had Michigan going so far in the tournament, winning the national championship, and then we had the Pistons locking down the number 1 seed, and then obviously they're in the playoffs, and we have so much to talk about with the playoffs, and then we had a Lions, our draft episode. We haven't had any chance for quite some time to talk about the Detroit Tigers. Rightfully so. They have not started the season super great. They are technically right now tied for second in the AL Central. You have the Guardians number 1 in the Central, AL Central, at 22 and 21. And then Chicago and Detroit are both tied for second place at 19 and 21. And then Kansas City behind us, Chicago's 19 and 21. We are 19 and 22 technically. Detroit's playing right now against the Mets. Kansas City 19 and 22, and then Minnesota at the bottom, 18 and 23. We don't have to dive too much into the Tigers. I just wanted to get into real quick. We do have a listener voicemail I want to play, but the name of the game for the Tigers so far has been 2 things for me. It's been the injuries. We have been absolutely decimated by injuries right now. Just looking at our number, we have the amount of money we have and contracts we have on the injured reserve list is rivaling full roster numbers. Obviously there's teams that are, like the Rays and like teams that just don't naturally carry heavy payrolls, but our IL payroll is matching actual full team payrolls out there. Troy on the injured list, we have Kerry Carpenter, Justin Verlander, Troy Melton, Bo Brisky, Tarek Skubal, Will Vest, Jackson Jobe, Connor Seabold, Javi Baez, Casey Mize, Gleyber Torres, Reese Olson, Trey Sweeney, Bailey Horn, Parker Meadows, Jose Brasuinu going down to the minor leagues, and then you have obviously guys like Zach Short coming back to Detroit, having to have him play. You have guys like Gage Workman making his debut. Just so many different guys on the IL. It's really difficult that at this point we just need to keep our head above water, and in order to get these guys back and not fall too far behind. They say you can't win a pennant in April and May, but you definitely can lose it. And so you got to keep our head above water just until these guys come back. But just diving a little bit deeper into the injuries. We had Tarek Skubal, who went down with the foreign bodies in his elbow injury, which is just like a buildup of foreign bodies in the elbow. It's usually about a 2 to 3 month recovery period. I guess they did more of an experimental surgery for him, and it was an extreme success. And so rather than being out 2 to 3 months, he's expected to be back in about 4 weeks, which is just crazy that's possible. That A, it's crazy they went with an experimental surgery on the back-to-back Cy Young winner, but then B, also to cut it down. And if that's actually the case, if he actually can come back that quickly, which is obviously yet to be seen, that will be absolutely huge. Justin Verlander moved from the 15-day IL to the 60-day IL. Really disappointing there. I don't know exactly how much they knew. Obviously, when they signed JV this past offseason, everyone was excited for him to be back in Detroit. Knew his age, obviously, but he still had he had a good year with the Giants last year, a decent year with the Giants. he was transferred to the 60-day injured list, which is just brutal. Like, you're getting shades of Alex Cobb and like an older. I'll never compare Alex Cobb to Justin Verlander, but
Don't.
he's an older pitcher who like we paid money for, and he. When are we
Don't.
gonna see him? I'm afraid, dude. I'm really afraid. So that's the one thing: the injuries and trying to get past all those. The other thing is that we have 3, maybe even 4 batters who are actually playing really, really well right now. You have Riley Green, who's playing really, really well this year so far. This year he has a 317 batting average. The power isn't quite there, just 4 home runs, but he has like a 26 game hit streak or something going, or on base streak, excuse me. He's playing really well. Kevin McGonigal, we've talked about him to start the season. He has continued his rookie prominence. He's playing really, 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 really well. You have guys like Colt Keith playing extremely well. Our batters are putting together some pretty decent starts to the season. Bullpen has been terrible. Kenley Jansen has blown more saves in the first quarter of the season than he has in like a season and a half last year and the year before. But I think the 2 morals of this season so far are the injuries and then the bats not being terrible from our guys. Like, Riley cutting down the strikeouts. I'm a little bit impressed by it.
Dude, Riley Green's been awesome, man. Like, he was strikeout king last year, and now he's just, like you said, I mean, the power hasn't been, like, incredible, but, you know, the pop's obviously still there, but he's hitting for contact, too, which, like, I would so much rather a balanced Riley Green than a guy who's just swinging for the fence and is going to bat, like, 230, and he might hit bombs, but, like, yeah, I love this version of Riley so much more. I just think he's taking such a better approach at the plate. I mean, how good is Colt Keith? Like, what an absolute step forward for him, which, like, I didn't even think really was possible because he was, basically a 260 hitter, which is very, very solid. And now he's just taking that step forward, batting over 300, like you said. So, yeah, love what I see from Colt Keith. And then, obviously, like, the guy, Kevin McGonigal, who has already racked up more grits of the week than maybe any other Tiger in history, if not Detroit sports athlete in history. He's just that good. Yeah, he's still been phenomenal. Batting average near 300, still hitting for contact and for power. So, yeah, those guys have been great. I think some of the injuries have been a little unlucky. Like, how many guys have been injured, like, awkward slides into home? Like, I think that's how Glaber got injured. And Kerry Carpenter, like, just crashing into a wall, which, like, I mean, I get it. Like, it's baseball. Like, things happen. That's like saying, football, you get tackled and get injured and it's weird. No, it's not. But, like, it is baseball. You don't expect nearly as many injuries as a sport like football. So a little bit unlucky there. But again, that's, it is what it is. I think they do have to weather this storm. I don't know how, but if you can somehow get to like mid-June and, Tarek somehow comes back and he's fine. I think this is a team that still can get it done. I mean, not like I'm probably going to take back what I said at the beginning of the season. It seems like World Series is not really in the cards for this team, but like, if you make it to the playoffs, you can easily win a series or 2. And yeah, it seems like they have the pop at the plate to maybe get frisky, but like, yeah, pitching, just if your entire pitching staff is injured, you're pretty much going to be screwed. So yeah, we'll see. It's definitely going to be a big couple of months without Tarek Skubal. Like, can this team weather the storm? Can they string together wins? Because right now, it seems like they win one game and lose 2. That's kind of been their MO. We'll certainly keep you updated, especially as we get into the dog days of summer where all we have is baseball. Like, right now, we're getting blessed with some basketball. That's gonna run out. It's bound to run out eventually. So we're gonna have the Tigers and only the Tigers before long. So just buckle up.
We're gonna have the Tigers whether we like it or not. Dylan Dingler deserves a shout out too. He's been a really solid. His average has dropped a little bit. I think he's only hitting like 230 at the moment, but I think he's leading the way with home runs for us. So he deserves a shout out there. We do have a listener voicemail referring to Javi Baez. We can play that here right now.
Hey guys, this is listener Greg listening to your podcast, dogging me about dogging on Javier Baez, and you are right. You will get no apology from me until he shows he's worth it. I will not humble myself. I will not bend the knee to him until Tigers are in the World Series and he has done something to contribute getting them there. Till then, I stand by my statement that he is overrated, and yeah, he made the All-Star team. So what?
Yeah, so thank you, listener Greg, for the Javier Baez call. Obviously, not going to get an apology for saying his disdain for Javi until it leads us to a World Series. Will that happen? I don't know. Javi's been on the injured list for a few weeks now. He had a really awkward slide into first base, which is weird in itself. But I will say, Javi, before going down, was hitting 256, just 2 home runs. So obviously not much power there, but 256 from Javi, like I'll take that 10 times out of 10. 256 from Javi, who can play wherever you need him out in the field. But I mean, hey, I'm not going to force an apology out of you until he does. I think maybe becoming an all-star, like you mentioned, might be worthy of an apology. But until he helps us in the playoffs and leads us to at least a World Series appearance, I'm not going to hold your feet to the coals for that apology. So, but I appreciate the phone.
Yeah, listener Greg, you wanted to bat 350? Like it's probably not in the cards. So yeah, maybe listener Greg, you got to just tone down your expectations a little bit as it relates to Javi Baez. But yeah, I think we're not going to get our apology. That's fine. Greg, thanks for listening. Thanks for being a huge fan of ours. We won't hold our breaths though for that apology.
Okay, let's wrap up the show with some grit of the week. Before we do that, you guys always know that of the week is brought to you by Pins and Aces. Pins and Aces is our favorite place for all your golf apparel needs. Pins and Aces, obviously you can find them at pinsandaces.com, is a premium golf lifestyle brand offering standout men's and women's apparel, golf bag, head covers, on-course accessories, everything that's designed to elevate performance and self-expression on the court. It's a great combination of great material while also being able to stand out and be yourself on the golf course. What makes them different? They have everything that combines the high-quality materials and functionality. It's bold, creative designs, break the mold of that traditional, boring golf gear. The weather's getting more beautiful. You mentioned that we're going to be losing basketball here shortly, and we're going to be just into Tigers and in the dog days of summer. Get your Pins and Aces gear and attire before it's too late. Our listeners can get 21% off checkout using promo code GRIT at pinsandaces.com. That's promo code GRIT, GRIT at pinsandaces.com. Kick us off. Grit of the week. What are we going to go with?
Grit of the week. Tough when the Stones drop back-to-back games in Cleveland. I'm still sticking with the hardwood, though. I'm giving it grit of the week. Karis LeVert, man. Like, when you come off the bench and you provide a much-needed spark in a pivotal game for, like, granted, like, it didn't go our way at all, but, like, first half Karis LeVert, he was the only one who wanted to be out there. 24 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 50% from 3, 63% from the field. A plus-minus of plus 15 in a game where everyone else on your team is getting absolutely dog-walked, and you still have a plus-minus of plus 15. That just speaks to you just being that spark plug. And yeah, that's grit for me, man. And for me, he's not just doing it on the offensive side of the ball. He's doing it on defense too. Like, he just basically locking down Donovan Mitchell for an entire half. Just tenacious. It was absolutely embodied grit. I loved what I saw from Karis, and I really hope that he is chewing out some of these starters are stars. Be like, dude, I'm a bench player and I just dropped 24 and I'm the only one who wants to be out there. I hope he's chewing out guys like Cade right now for a big bounce back, because I know this team's going to bounce back in a huge way in Game 5. And yeah, obviously it's a must win. But yeah, dude, grit of the week, man. Karis LeVert.
Just an absolute veteran. A revenge game. Obviously, he was spent some time in Cleveland. He was like you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned offensively and defensively. He was getting it done. The energy was there. I hope you're right in that he's using his veteran leadership to teach these guys hey, that's unacceptable, the performance we did. I was so mad at that game, not to rehash that up. In my head, I'm not gonna say this, I'm not gonna put this actually out there. In my head though, I have retroactively stripped Jalen Duren of all grit of the weeks. And I'm not actually doing it, but in my head, watching that game last night, in my head I stripped him of all grit of the weeks. That's how embarrassed I was of him. Yeah, Karis was great. It's performances. Now, again, you wish you could have stole that game, because it's performances like that from your bench guys that your stars aren't playing well, so your bench steps in and steals the game. It's that kind of thing that can propel you to championships. It's those guys stepping up, and unfortunately we squandered both opportunities there. So unfortunate there, but yeah, shout out to Karis LeVert. I'm gonna stick with baseball. I know we just briefly touched on him, but my grit of the week is gonna be Riley Green. You brought up a great point in that Riley was so much more literally swing for the fences last year. He was obviously he struck out at a historic rate. He also hit a bunch of home runs. This year he's much more balanced. The thing with him last year is that his swing angle was so aggressive that he was either swinging through it or he was making an insane contact hitting the ball out. He's altered that a little bit, and he's playing extremely well this year. And like, I so much rather, like you said, would have him playing the way he is right now. So over the last 19 games, he has a batting average of 397, an OBP of 494, an OPS of 1.126, 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, 13 walks, which is extremely great for him, 10 extra base hits. So over 19, he's playing at an all-star level. Now you might say, okay, but yeah, that 19 games, great. That's what, 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. Like, that's not that much. Go back his last 86 plate appearance, which is a little bit further. He was batting 384. He has a 52% hard hit rate, a 17.4% barrel rate. He is getting it done over the last 2 months or so. And I think quietly even, like, I feel like and naturally with the Pistons playing in the playoffs and the Tigers kind of really floundering, I think he's not getting as much attention as he should. He's quietly putting together a really, really good follow-up season to his historic strikeout rate last year. So I want to give a shout out to Riley Green. If he can continue that, and like we said, we start to get as we get healthy, we get some of the other bats back, we get our pitching back. If he can continue that throughout the season, I think we might be able to turn the ship around and make some noise come playoff.
Yeah, dude, and 13 doubles too. Like, for a guy who is notorious for being like slower than shit.
Slowest guy in the world.
13 doubles is great. He's still on pace for the most doubles in his career to date. But yeah, dude, shout out Riley Green, man. And as you were talking about Riley Green, I know you mentioned Dylan Dingler too. Just hit a homer against the Mets. So yeah, yep. The guy has pop, man. So yeah, it's not all grim and gray for the Tigers, but yeah, certainly not nearly as good as it can be. But yeah, in a year where the AL Central is dog shit. Stop me if you heard this before, Tyler, but the AL Central is dog shit. So I mean, it's still very much up for grabs. Like, this team could still make some noise. So yeah, it ain't over yet.
Yeah. And I think just right before we sign off, I think a lot of those doubles, he's been the number. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Riley Green, and I think Kevin McGonigal is also one of them. One of the most unlucky batters in MLB with balls that were and any other ballpark would have been out, but ended up in being just a double, or excuse me, would have been out of obviously out of the park in a home run. But ended up just being doubles for whatever reason, and or deep fly outs. So I think those doubles will begin to transform into home runs and a lot of the fly outs as well. So shout out to Karis LeVert and shout out Riley Green. But all right, that's our show. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. You can find both Kyle and I on Twitter at Kyle_Marino and myself at Dutton_Tyler. You can follow the podcast itself on Instagram or TikTok at Gridiron Report, on Twitter at Gridiron Report 1. Or you can watch these full-length episodes on YouTube at Gridiron Report. You can see me get way worked up this episode for the Pistons. Got a little hot and bothered a little bit. I had so much on my mind, had to talk about it. So you can watch these full-length episodes on YouTube. Finally, you guys can join the conversation next week by calling into the Gridiron Report voicemail, the same as listener Greg. Talk about Javi Baez, talk about Jalen Duren, talk about the Pistons either moving on or being eliminated, talk about the Tigers being able to turn it around, whatever you want to talk about. Call into that voicemail, leave us a voicemail talking about anything Detroit or Detroit sports. We'll bring it up on the show and discuss it. That phone number is 313-306-7939. And if you guys like this episode, please take a moment to rate it 5 stars. Leave us a nice review. Follow us on all forms of social media. We're putting out stuff every single day. It helps us to bring you guys more Detroit sports stuff. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, y'all. Game 5. Let's go Stones.
A journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retired. Gridiron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thundering loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report, where the stories are proud. Tune in, bring the heat, make your fandom a vow.